on the ground. Breaking stories. This is Scripps News on the scene.
Well, President Trump is blasting critics of the Iran war, which has now dragged on for more than 3 months. I'm Andrew Rafferty in Washington, and you're watching On the Scene. The president posted on Truth Social to call out Democrats and what he termed unpatriotic Republicans. He says all this negative chirping is making it harder for him to do his job and negotiate. This comes after the U.S. and Iran traded more strikes over the weekend. The strikes raise fears about the stability of the region's already fragile ceasefire. Scripps News White House correspondent Jacob Garden-Schwartz joins me now. Jacob, this is a fast-moving and fluid situation, so get us caught up on where negotiations stand right now.
Good afternoon, Andrew. Well, about a week after U.S. officials insisted that they were very close to nearing a deal with Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, signs now pointing towards the opposite direction. Talks may be off, the strait may be closed further, and now Iran reportedly threatening to target other straits crucial to global shipping in the region. As you noted, President Trump this morning lashing out against critics on social media, suggesting those that are pushing him to end this conflict early or ahead of his own timeline are, quote, as you said, panicins and whatnot, and suggesting that, quote, it is much tougher for me to properly do my job and negotiate when political hacks keep negatively chirping. Just sit back, relax, and it will all work out in the end. That's the line from President Trump, although despite the optimism last week, signs now pointing that talks may be stalled. Tasnim news agency, an Iranian outlet with ties to the IRGC, reporting that Iranian negotiators have stopped communicating with intermediaries who were sharing messages with the United States due to a breakdown in these ongoing talks. Now, those officials are citing Israel's alleged violation of a ceasefire in Lebanon as the key reason for the breakdown in these talks. Tasnim also reporting that Iran has resolved to completely block the Strait of Hormuz and intends to activate other fronts, including the Bab al-Mandab Strait. That's another strait nearby in the Arabian Sea, not perhaps as crucial as the Strait of Hormuz to global shipping, though certainly a closure there, perhaps by Houthis in Yemen, an Iran-backed militia group, would certainly deal a blow to the global shipping trade. That's just some of the sort of sticking points we understand as things stand. Additionally, ongoing concerns about whether and how much financial assistance the U.S. might provide to Iran, either unfreezing frozen assets or lifting sanctions. The exact concerns about the exact mechanism of how the Strait of Hormuz would reopen. The Foreign Ministry spokesman in a briefing today saying that, quote, measures will be taken to collect necessary charges for navigation services, mending the environmental situation, and the like. That sounds quite a bit like the tolls President Trump has insisted are off the table. Now, we did learn just a few moments ago that the president, who has not spoken publicly, and we have not heard from the White House amid all of this, amid our many questions, he did reportedly speak to NBC News. He did not confirm that Iran has pulled out of negotiations, though he suggested that if they did, it would be all right by him, that he thinks the U.S. and Iran have perhaps been talking too much, and that he wants to return to a bit of a wait-and-see mode, try to use the naval blockade to force Iran back to the negotiating table economically. But again, when it was, just a week ago that we were talking about U.S. officials insisting that we were very close to a deal to at least reopen the Strait of Hormuz, all signs now that, in fact, the opposite is true. The strait will continue to be closed and talks are breaking down. A lot of moving pieces we continue to monitor. Andrew.
Yeah, a fast-moving one. And you mentioned Israel. I want to kind of jump in on those strikes. The strikes, Israel and Lebanon, they seem to be escalating. So how does that factor into the war?
Well, of course, we've been tracking this for several weeks now. Israel targeting Hezbollah, an Iran-backed militia within Lebanon. Hezbollah, meanwhile, firing on Israeli soldiers both within Lebanon and taking aim at Israel itself. Now, U.S. officials initially have suggested that talks to try to broker some sort of peace deal between the nations were separate. There was this slate of U.S.-Israel-Lebanon talks, and then there were the U.S.-Iran talks, and that those did not concern one another. similar. But Iran, who of course backs Hezbollah, has insisted that Israel's attacks on Lebanon are crucial to its campaign against the United States, and says that Israeli incursions within Lebanon are, really derailing the broader peace process. Israeli media are reporting today that President Trump is speaking with Prime Minister Netanyahu at this very moment, or just a few moments ago. We've asked the White House about that, and no comment yet. So clearly, the U.S. sees the Israel-Lebanon factor as crucial to this broader peace deal. A U.S. official told us last night that Secretary Rubio spoke with both Israel and Lebanon's presidents and suggested some form of a truce, essentially that the U.S. convince Israel to halt its strikes on Lebanon, and in exchange, Hezbollah will halt its strikes on Israel. We are told, per that U.S. official, that Lebanese officials rejected that offer, feeling like Israel needs to halt first, and then Lebanon would halt. Again, a little bit of figure pointing as to who takes which steps when. We do know there are more talks scheduled to take place between the United States, Israel, and Lebanon at the State Department tomorrow. Certainly something we'll be watching to see how it impacts all of this. Andrew.
All right, our White House correspondent Jacob Garden-Schwartz. Jacob, we'll let you get back to it and check in with you later this afternoon. And breaking news just into the newsroom, a major ruling impacting transgender people already in the U.S. military and those hoping to serve. Scripps News legal affairs correspondent Avajoy Burnett joins me now from our DC newsroom. So Avajoy, what is the ruling and what does it mean?
Hey there, Andrew. This is a decision that is just now coming in, and a federal appeals court based here in Washington, D.C. has said the Trump administration cannot move forward in attempting to block transgender military members from serving. This is something that has been ongoing since President Donald Trump went back into office. He signed hundreds of executive orders, and one of the first executive orders that he signed had to do with transgender military members. And what administration officials have said, including members at the DOD, they have claimed that anyone who is claiming to be a different gender than what they were assigned at birth is, quote, not serving honorably, not serving an honorable lifestyle. The lieutenant who was named in this case, his name is Nick Talbot. He was born a girl, but eventually transitioned into being male. And he told me in an interview that I had with him some time ago as he awaited this decision that he, for a very long time, knew that he wanted to be a military service member. And because of that, he really fought this battle, not just for himself, but for the possibility of maybe 4,200 additional service members who could potentially have been impacted by this particular ruling. And now they have a victory. The court, this was a 3-judge panel, and they said it appears as if the Trump administration had no reasoning for really eliminating or trying to eliminate these transgender people from serving in the military, because the Trump administration provided no proof that these people were unable to serve honorably and unable to move forward with the mission at hand. I have been in communication with the attorney who represented Lieutenant Nick Talbot, and this is what he sent me just moments ago as they reacted to this victory from this federal appeals court. They said this is a huge relief for these service members and their families. We expect the government to seek a state of this ruling. They perhaps mean a stay right there. This is something that was rapidly sent over to me. However, we will do everything we can to explain to the Supreme Court why it should allow this decision to stand while the case proceeds. So a reference there to the Supreme Court. This decision came from a federal appeals court, and the attorneys who are representing Lieutenant Talbot, they anticipate that the Trump administration will be filing an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court to ask the High Court to block about 42 transgender military members from continuing to serve in the military. This ruling that came out earlier today also said people who are trying to enter the military, if they are transgender, they would not be able to do so. So while this is a win for folks who right now are in the military and are transgender service members, this could be a loss for people who are currently transgender folks who are trying to enter the military. According to this ruling, they will not be able to do so. So once again, a major update from a federal appeals court court here in Washington, D.C., where they are saying the Trump administration, the Department of Defense specifically, they're not able to move forward in trying to block transgender service members from serving in the military. Transgender service members who are currently enrolled in the military. Andrew?
Okay, some major news there with much more to come. Our legal affairs correspondent, Avajoy Burnett, for us. Avajoy, thank you.
People united will never be defeated. People united will never be defeated.
Multiple people were arrested overnight after more protests erupted outside an immigration detention center in Newark, New Jersey. Demonstrators have clashed with officers for days. The privately owned facility has faced allegations of inhumane conditions for months. The governor of New Jersey says it's time to turn down the temperature.
Let me be clear. Violent, chaotic clashes hurt everyone. They put the lives of both protesters and law enforcement in danger. They take the focus away from people inside Delaney Hall and their families. And they raise the temperature with ICE.
Governor Sherrill said the federal government has resumed family visits at Delaney Hall. And Congress is back in Washington today with a packed agenda. Lawmakers still have not approved immigration enforcement funding for the remainder of President Trump's term. The delay stems in part from a dispute over the weaponization fund that would pay people who say that they were targeted by the federal government. Critics worry the payments could benefit January 6 defendants. The fund is already tied up in a court with a judge temporarily blocking its rollout. And today marks the official start of the Atlantic hurricane season. It comes amid the smallest FEMA workforce since 2021. The agency lost nearly 20% of its staff since Trump took office, and President Trump's cuts include agencies that help with everything from clearing roads to finding emergency lodging. Forecasters are expecting a below-average year. And the San Antonio Spurs are headed to the NBA Finals, where they will face off against the New York Knicks. The Spurs punched their ticket by beating Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals Saturday night. It is their first trip to the finals since 2014. The Knicks, on the other hand, haven't been there since 1999. Game 1 tips off Wednesday night in San Antonio.
Scripps News, part of the Scripps News Group.
I'm Chad Mills in Sarasota, where we're getting an up-close view at the famous hurricane hunters as they reach a major milestone. Riding a roller coaster through a washing machine.
There's so much rain. It's so loud.
The eye of the hurricane.
That's what it can feel like flying directly into a hurricane. And for 50 years, two iconic aircraft, nicknamed Kermit and Miss Piggy, have done exactly that, helping forecasters better predict where storms go next and how strong they'll be.
I love our paint scheme. Yeah. It's very unique.
Well, the missions take crews across the Gulf and Atlantic. The people flying them are our neighbors with NOAA's Aircraft Operations Center based in Lakeland.
Here are the storms Miss Piggy has flown through.
During a recent stop in Sarasota, Commander Brett Copair gave us an up-close look at Miss Piggy, a Lockheed P-3 Orion and one of NOAA's legendary Hurricane Hunter aircraft, now marking 50 years in service.
The plane has been battle-tested, storm-tested. She keeps flying every storm, every series, every pass. She's just as good as she was 50 years ago.
And after half a century flying through storms, the outside of the aircraft hasn't changed much.
This equipment here is really vital to collecting data as we fly along our aircraft.
But inside, Commander Copair showed us how generations of technology upgrades have transformed the plane into a flying science lab.
It's invaluable data. There is nothing else like it.
The information collected during each flight, including wind speeds, pressure, humidity, and signs of rapid intensification, feeds directly into models used by meteorologists like Jennifer Hubbard.
Oh, it's super important, get to know what real-time information is happening with the storm.
But collecting that life-saving data means going where few pilots ever will.
And I just remember it was morning time, 2, 3 a.m. We get to the storm, and it was a relentless storm.
Copair says Hurricane Ian remains one of the most memorable flights of his career as the storm approached Florida's Gulf Coast.
It's about 6 hours of being strapped down, waiting for bumps that may or may not come. I'll always remember that flight, that day, that night, and that series.
And once one mission ends, another may be just hours away.
The one thing you want to do is get home, get in your bed, take a nap, because in about 12 hours, you're doing it all over again.
So this is our newest airplane in the NOAA fleet.
And even after landfall, the work doesn't stop. Another NOAA crew based in Lakeland flies specialized missions over storm damage to take pictures of the damage, often within hours of impact.
And you get about a 7 centimeter per pixel resolution for this plane.
The high-res images help FEMA and first responders identify blocked roads, damaged neighborhoods, and areas needing urgent help. One of Lieutenant James Seibert's latest missions, flying over Jamaica hours after Hurricane Melissa last October.
We really saw firsthand the impact that our data was having.
All it takes is one bump.
For the NOAA flight team, hurricane season means long hours, dangerous missions, and flying toward storms.
It never gets old.
But they chase danger so others can avoid it.
Very rewarding work that we do.
Pilots get a lot of the credit, but they tell us that none of this work would happen if not for the crews on the ground who maintain these planes and get them ready each year for hurricane season. In Sarasota, I'm Chad Mills for Scripps News.
Lyme disease cases are climbing, and now the federal government is rolling out a sweeping new plan to fight it. We'll show you what's changing and why health experts say early treatment is critical to protect your health. Millions of Americans are diagnosed with Lyme disease each year, and now the federal government has a sweeping plan to fight it. Lyme disease is one of the nation's fastest growing health threats, impacting hundreds of thousands annually. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced a multi-million-dollar pilot program to control ticks on wildlife. $2.5 million will go to innovation challenges, expanded NIH research into a food allergy caused by tick bites, and a new public-private partnership to connect patients with experienced providers. Lyme diagnoses cost Americans more than $476,000 a year. Tick bites are at their highest springtime level in nearly a decade, and the disease can be extremely dangerous.
One tick bite can devastate and change and take away somebody's life.
The department's goal is to cut Lyme disease cases by 25% by 2035. They also want to accelerate prevention, develop faster diagnostics, and improve care. Officials say the initiatives build on past Lyme projects, which have already helped bring new FDA-approved tests to the market. For more information and resources, visit hhs.gov/Lyme.
Amanda Duran was born and raised in Lexington. For years, she has called the classroom at Morton Middle School her home.
In your 30s, you think you're invincible.
On November 11, 2023, Amanda turned on the TV to watch the UK football game and ended up falling asleep. When she woke up, she couldn't speak.
That right there, I knew, like, this isn't normal.
She managed to get first responders to her home. In the meantime, she started to panic because they couldn't figure out what was wrong, until she mustered the energy to show them a message.
But I somehow typed out on my phone, stroke, because I thought I was having a stroke.
First responders rushed her to Baptist Health Lexington, where doctors discovered she wasn't having a stroke. After several tests, they diagnosed her with acute disseminated encephalomyelitis, or ADEM, an inflammation of the brain. According to the Cleveland Clinic, ADEM is rare. Only 1 in 250,000 people in the United States are affected.
My head right here was swelling so much that it was pushing my brain off the brainstem.
She needed surgery immediately. Doctors removed a piece of her skull to relieve the pressure. For the next 8 weeks, she had to be extremely cautious until doctors could put her skull back in its place. She was out of teaching for several months, but she was determined to get back.
And when I came back, those kids were fantastic.
She continues to teach middle schoolers and is involved with a nonprofit called Encephalitis International. The nonprofit gives her a platform to share her story and raise awareness.
Be a part of who I am and not define who I am.
Since her brain surgery, Amanda has been able to recover and return to the life she loves. However, she still faces several challenges.
Memory loss, sometimes my processing, if people say stuff to me, I have to hear it a few times. Fatigue is probably my biggest issue.
Amanda often looks back at the pictures of when she was in the hospital.
On November 11th, I take off of work, and that's like my day to live again, you know.
What was once a source of pain is now a reminder of how far she has come.
That first night when we jumped in the ocean, I'm still drenched to the bone, with the thrill of new heights to launch off of.
After the break, a live look at today's top stories. on the ground. Breaking stories. This is Scripps News on the Scene.
Well, welcome back to On the Scene. I'm Andrew Rafferty in Washington. Let's get you caught up on some of today's top stories. Democrats are grappling with new questions surrounding Graham Plattner, the frontrunner to take on Maine GOP Senator Susan Collins in a key Senate race. New reports detail alleged sexual messages between Plattner and other women. Plattner's wife spoke out over the weekend, saying she was deeply hurt after the details became public. Plattner has remained competitive in polling against Collins, despite a handful of controversies surrounding his campaign. And the former Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell using one of his first major public appearances since leaving office to defend independent institutions. Powell was in Boston over the weekend, speaking at the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library to accept an award honoring his efforts to keep the central bank's independence. He calls universities, courts, Congress, and the central bank, quote, the embodiment of our democracy. Powell stepped down as chair last month as his term expired. Kevin Warsh was selected by President Trump to lead the central bank. And voters in Los Angeles are getting ready to head to the polls to choose the top two candidates for mayor. Incumbent Karen Bass is running against TV star Spencer Pratt and progressive city councilwoman Nithya Raman. California holds primaries on Tuesday with candidates of all parties appearing on the same ballot. Polls show the three for mayor in a close race. The top two vote getters, regardless of party, advance to the general election in November. And you are looking live at the Kilauea volcano in Hawaii. It is erupting once again. USGS is reporting that fountains from the north vent have reached about 350 feet high. But officials say the eruption is expected to intensify even more, with lava fountains potentially reaching up to 800 feet. Kilauea is one of the most active volcanoes on the planet and is located on the Big Island of Hawaii.
Their daughters are back there. My daughter's back at the other two.
On a quiet patch of land in Bell County, Michael Moon has spent decades working Texas soil.
I worked for Texas A&M for 30 years, and then I retired, and I've been farming and ranching for pretty much 55 years, pretty much.
I met up with Michael on his family ranch to talk about politics, how these elections with the recent runoff with Ken Paxton and John Cornyn are affecting our local farmers and what they want the politician-elects to know.
In his office that he held, and so we're just going to have to build new relationships with him, and it's something that we do every election cycle. Is when someone new comes in, we have to tell our story and let them know exactly what we need and exactly what our troubles we're having, and get them informed.
Moon tells me for the matchup between Ken Paxton and James Tallarico in November, farmers are looking for leaders who understand what's happening on the ground in rural Texas.
The biggest issues right now that we're having is our increased cost of production, our input cost, and if that continues to be an issue, then you're looking at probably quite a few more farmers and ranchers going out of business, because they're just barely holding on as it is now.
From fertilizer to fuel to feed, Moon says costs keep climbing while profits are shrinking, and they're asking for help.
We've reached out to President Trump and to our Secretary of Ag, Brooke Rollins, and basically told them that we need help with these issues, getting prices lowered.
While political divides continue to grow in Washington, D.C., his biggest concern is the farm bill pushing through.
The biggest thing I see in Washington, and I was there a few weeks ago, is the divide between the parties. To me, we need to get away from that and go back to being able to compromise.
Now that Texas Senate seat election will happen Tuesday, November 3rd. Reporting your neighbor to Waco, Alexa Conroy.
Some important that we have transparency around this and make sure that we're accounting for any environmental impacts on the front end.
District 20 Council member Rollin Horton says he wants Nashville to be proactive before more data centers make their way to Davidson County.
I looked to see what types of regulations we had in place in Nashville to try to govern these, and the answer was none.
Under the proposal, data centers would be categorized as small, medium, and large, with restrictions tied to zoning districts and how close facilities could be to neighborhoods, schools, daycares, parks, and even the zoo.
Large data centers, more than 500,000 square feet. That's roughly the size of 9 football fields. These hyperscale data centers that we see going up across the country, including in Memphis, those are banned in Nashville if this legislation passes.
The bill would also require data centers to use closed-loop cooling systems.
So they're not continually drawing more water out of the system and dumping polluted water back into the community, but instead have to use a contained system on site.
Despite those concerns, MTSU economics professor Dan J. Smith says data center development can also create major economic opportunities.
If across America we delay this technology, it's going to set us back compared to other nations. So we need to embrace it. But the problem is nobody wants it in their backyard.
Smith says while communities increasingly rely on data centers to power web applications, cloud services, and artificial intelligence,
everyone's for something, but we just don't want it in my backyard.
Smith says it will be up to city leaders to balance economic growth with neighborhood concerns, which is something Horton says this proposal is designed to do.
This legislation provides the opportunity for communities first to be informed about a proposed data center, as well as the opportunity to provide input on it to make sure that any proposed data center is what the community wants for themselves.
Aaron Cantrell, Scripps News Group.
You're watching Scripps News on the Scene. Coming up at 5, Happening Now in America brings you up-to-the-minute details on today's top stories. And later at 6, watch Today as It Happened. It's all coming your way on Scripps News.
with the Scripps News Group. News teams from across the country.
Reporting in Detroit.
In Phoenix. In Tampa.
Connecting together to cover what's important to you. From the nation.
Big developments out of Washington today.
To your neighborhood.
For impacts across the country, we go to our Scripps News Group reporter in Cincinnati.
Ohio is already seeing the effect.
Rely on the reporting power of the Scripps News Group here on Scripps News.
Says it's selling so much gas, stations sometimes have to refuel with tanker trucks in the middle of the day. That demand is the highest in its 50-year history, according to the company's CEO. Costco's massive network allows it to sell gas for a few pennies cheaper than local stations, but it's still turning just a slim profit on the fuel. Those gas lines might not be quite as long today. AAA says the national average is ticking down, now $4.32 a gallon nationwide. That's down 18 cents over the last week, but we are still nowhere close to where prices were at this time last year. And finally, the #1 movie in North America is the work of a 20-year-old director. Kane Parsons is now the youngest filmmaker to reach #1 at the domestic box office. His thriller, Backrooms, debuted to more than $81 million in its opening weekend. But the director says there is much more to the story, hinting at a sequel.
Pending home sales rose recently, a bright spot in a tough financial market. But with mortgage rates climbing, buyers still need to be a little extra savvy. Pending sales were up 1.4% in April. That's more than 3% higher than last year. Most regions seeing gains. But getting the right home means having a plan. Bankrate says, first, improve your credit score. Second, shop around for lenders, rates and terms that vary more than you think. And ask about a mortgage rate buy down. It's a way for you or even the seller to pay upfront points to buy down your interest rate. That could save you hundreds of dollars a month. Sellers actually might put this on the table up front.
If you're able to buy, you know that you can refinance it every 6 months if you wanted to. Now, obviously, I don't advise it, but that is an option that you have. And at any point, rates drop to 2%, you've got that advantage.
So start polishing your credit. Comparison shop for lenders, and don't forget to ask about those rate buy downs. That unexpected question could result in a sale and the savings you need.
Some veterinarians in training got a chance to see what it's really like from the pros.
Starting chest compression.
This may seem like an actual life-threatening event here at Vistancia Animal Hospital in Peoria.
Go ahead and start getting some vitals here.
But in this case, the emergency isn't real, and neither's the pet. But it's all designed to give these students a first-hand look at what caring for animals is really like.
I've been wanting to be a veterinarian since I was maybe 4 or 5 years old.
All of this is like a dream come true for 10-year-old Audrina.
It makes me want to do it because now I know more about it.
Anything from dentistry to radiology to surgery to ultrasound.
Your weight, good job.
You name it, these students got to do it. The clinic shutting down for the morning so these students can learn from the pros and practice on prop pets.
A lot that goes into it, but it's very rewarding and wouldn't have it any other way.
They saw it all, the good, the bad, and the furry.
Absolutely right.
It's important to have your kids have dreams. You've been excited for it?
Yes.
Yeah.
For parents like Kent, the joy comes in seeing his daughter Lennon chase her goals. Why was it so important for you to see her do this?
Well, just getting the exposure. She's wanted to be a vet for a couple years. And so for her to have hands-on exposure and for a clinic to offer something like this and for us to see it on the news, and it's amazing.
Kudos to all our future doctors here.
And Michaela Costello is one of those future doctors.
I always knew I wanted to be a veterinarian or work with animals because I felt more connected with animals.
Her essay about helping to rehab an injured pigeon took home top prize. How proud do you feel right now?
Very proud. It doesn't feel as real, but I'm very proud of myself for these past 4 years and how much I've grown because I have a learning disability and everything's more challenging for me.
But no matter the obstacle, Michaela says she is committed to becoming a vet.
So proud of you.
Especially with newfound mentors here at the clinic.
How does that feel to now have all these cheerleaders?
It feels amazing. It feels really good.
So this was actually the 4th year that these pint-sized veterinarians got to come and experience this. And from what I could tell from both the doctors, the parents, and especially the kids, it was a big success.
Nick Saletti, Scripps News Group.
Using art as a way to help others. Coming up, we bring you the story of one tattoo shop owner who's wanting to make a difference on an issue that hits close to home. They say it takes dedication.
Is Kelsey still out there with his guy? He's still out there. He's having fun.
To make a difference. And for Kiera Miller, tattoos have been a way to do that.
I love bringing people's ideas to life.
But there's a deeper story behind the ink.
I myself spent 5 years homeless, and I was at the end of my rope, ready to give up, and somebody brought me a hot plate of food and reminded me I was still a person. And
It lit a fire in me.
Miller took that pain and founded Ink for Impact back in 2022, which started as giving away Thanksgiving meals. But years later, she hosted her very first community donation drive, collecting clothes for those experiencing homelessness in exchange for some free tattoos.
Hitting rock bottom really opened my eyes. People don't understand when you are at the end of your rope, when you have nothing left. You feel like the world has forgotten you. You feel like you could just disappear tomorrow and nobody would care. I know how that feels, and if I can prevent just one more person from feeling that pain, that's worth it to me.
Miller also has Impact Weeks, where she takes her tattoo earnings and donates every penny towards these events, trying to make a difference in a world that needs more empathy.
We as a human race have forgotten our humanity. Just because somebody is a little less fortunate than you does not mean that they need to be looked down upon. There's enough hate in the world. We don't need any more of it.
In Salt Lake City, Carolina Hassett.
It's now been 7 years since the mass shooting at the Virginia Beach Municipal Center. I'm News 3 reporter Brendan Ponton in Virginia Beach, taking a look at how the community is remembering the lives lost and also dedicating a new memorial to them. The memorial is a solemn reminder of what happened at the Municipal Center 7 years ago. In it, you'll find the names of the victims. There's a tribute to first responders and decorated rocks dating back to the first days after the shooting. It's a place meant for reflection. When somebody who's maybe not as connected as you are goes back there, what do you hope they take away from it?
Solace, solidarity.
Jason Nixon's wife, Kate, was one of 12 people who lost their lives in the shooting on May 31st, 2019. He spent years advocating for the memorial, so his wife's memory isn't forgotten.
If you want something done, you got to be persistent and stick to it and don't back down.
The dedication of the memorial came on the 7th anniversary of the shooting. During a ceremony, the victims' names were read aloud, and there was a moment of silence.
Please join me in a moment of silence.
Kelly Mills is a survivor of the shooting. She hopes the memorial will bring others peace.
My hope is that this memorial will nurture healing, provide a place for reflection, and serve as a source of connection for those who are affected.
Mayor Bobby Dyer notes it did take time to get to this point.
And yes, my friends, it took a little longer, with a little more effort, but I can tell you that it's worth the wait. Take a look at this magnificent memorial.
But those who have persevered through the last 7 years are glad the memorial is finally near completion.
Before now, we were all scattered along our journey. Today, we are reunited, and we are now truly VB strong.
Members of the community were able to check out the memorial following the ceremony, but the final touches still need to be put in before it will be permanently open. In Virginia Beach, Brendan Ponton, Scripps News Group.
It's graduation season in Wisconsin, and hundreds of seniors here at Elkhorn Area High will soon walk the stage. Walworth County reporter Todd Simmons to explain why the class of 2026 includes a World War II veteran.
I was 17, 18 years old.
101-year-old Glenn Boyd served World War II Army air cargo missions at the age when students today are thinking about college applications.
The pilot's hand comes down, you gotta push right now, because you're going 90 miles an hour.
He told us tales of service to Elkhorn area high school students every Veterans Day.
He was younger than I am now when he chose to go and fight for our country.
Glenn dropped out of the 11th grade to make that choice.
I never finished my diploma.
So Principal Dan Keel decided to award him his long-awaited high school diploma this year.
Yeah, he thought about it for a second. You could tell, that was something he wanted to do, and we kind of talked about doing it at the next Veterans Day assembly. So why wait?
Elkhorn seniors unanimously voted for their principal's plan, and Glenn was set to join his new classmates on the stage. However, Glenn did not make it. He died on May 18th, just 12 days before graduation.
We're just so proud of him.
Glenn's son Larry, a Marine who served in Vietnam, flew to Elkhorn from Arkansas to honor his father one last time.
We need to remember the stories that our parents and grandparents tell us, because when they're gone, we won't have those stories anymore. We'll only have the memory of them, and we need to hang on to that.
Glenn's memory will be honored at graduation with an empty seat draped in an American flag, a fitting way to remember the most accomplished member in Elkhorn's class of 2026.
Todd Simmons, Scripps News Group.
A Kansas family's wedding weekend in Colorado was cut short by a medical emergency after a 2-year-old girl was bitten by a rattlesnake. I'm Denver 7's Colin Riley with the story and how you can help. 2-year-old Quinn Robertson has been working hard to be the flower girl in her aunt's wedding this weekend.
They've been practicing for the last month or so on their on their walk down the aisle. Loves to dance, loves to be outside, loves to talk. She is the life of the party.
On Monday, her dad Brett and her mom Colleen had traveled from Kansas to Bennett, Colorado, staying at an Airbnb before the big day.
Colleen and Quinn just walked a couple hundred feet out to go view the horses, and my wife heard a little cry from Quinn.
Just hours after arriving, little Quinn had accidentally stepped on a rattlesnake and was bitten in the thigh.
She kind of told us that she didn't see the snake until after it bit her.
Emergency crews arrived in minutes, but in the meantime, Quinn's mom had to start saving her daughter's life.
Watching your daughter lay in a driveway out in the middle of nowhere on her back, going in and out of consciousness. Watching your wife, your 8-month pregnant wife, give her CPR and chest compressions mouth to mouth.
A terrifying scene for any parent. Brett and Colleen loaded their daughter onto a helicopter and chased her to Children's Hospital in Aurora.
It was the hardest drive I'll ever make. Not knowing what's on the other side, if she's gonna, what we're gonna see.
The first few days were harrowing. Quinn ended up needing 30 vials of antivenom and round-the-clock care from hospital staff.
I no words to express how grateful and supported we feel through this whole thing. The power of pray. We're a Catholic family that really puts our faith in God.
Now Quinn is stable and getting back to her normal self, but recovery is still a long road with no word on when she can head back home to Kansas.
She's a tough cookie. She's a warrior.
Colin Riley, Scripps News Group.
After the break, a live look at today's top stories.